Thank you and welcome back. So next up for you, we've got another deep dive tech session on the subject of fast and scalable machine translation, presented by Vasco Pedro, CEO and founder of Unbabel. Originally from Lisbon, Portugal, Vasco holds a PhD in language technologies from Carnegie Mellon University and is a faculty member of Singularity University. Vasco has played a key role in strengthening the Portuguese tech ecosystem through mentorship initiatives including Beta I, Startup Portugal, and the Founders Initiative. Welcome, Vasco. The stage is yours.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Great. It's great to be here. I'm going to be talking a bit about different trends in AI that we're seeing and about what's going on in machine translation. From a startup perspective, I would say. The first trend is that very soon, so by next year, most of the customer interactions will involve AI and machine learning. Now, why is this important? So I'm co-founder and CEO of Unbabel, and what we do is we combine artificial intelligence with human translation to build what we're calling the world's translation layer. And as part of that is enabling a change in the way translation has happened, which has been mostly human-driven, to one where translation is really used as the center of language operations and enabling different parts of a company to be able to function seamlessly in a bunch of different languages. Now, let me see if this moves. What we're seeing as part of this trend is that the whole idea of human augmented AI is really taking off. We're seeing the number of use cases where not only AI is taking off, but where humans are still very much essential to the process of being able to improve the different AI models are taking off. Like, for example, the release of GPT-3 model by OpenAI last year has really been revolutionary in a lot of ways, but early users are continuing to show that the need to have human judgments is very much needed. And as such, this hybrid model of needing humans to drive AI and needing AI to increase the performance of humans is a trend that's going to continue. Now, translation is actually one of the most mature human-in-the-loop ecosystems, right? And I think this is one where we're seeing that whenever you start working in machine translation, you can't really train models and improve models if you don't have human judgments, which in this case, most of the times are human translations as reference points. And then the other trend that we're seeing a lot in our industry is that it's the sense that even though we live in a global society, we actually expect to have really local experiences. That is, for example, 70% of people would feel more loyal to a company that spoke their native language. And so, well, of course, there was a lot of challenges with the current pandemic, but one thing that we did see is this acceleration of digital transformation. And one of them is that there was a bit of a digital breakdown in geographical barriers, meaning people are buying more things in a cross-border environment. And so the ability to have that local experience independently of where you are becomes more and more of an issue. And so, as I mentioned, there's very large models being released. For example, Facebook's M2M100 and Google's MT5 that are creating a lot of advancements in having one common language model. And this is important because not relying on English as a transition language for machine translation, it improves accuracy, right? And it enables us to start dealing with, for example, low resource languages without having to have all the resources required to go from English to something else, which has been the case until now. And then the other trend that we're seeing a lot, so a few years back, we were seeing that conversational interfaces were going to be important. And that is still very much the case. But the difference is that maybe a few years ago, we were seeing conversational interfaces and specifically bots showing a lot of promise on the ability to take over a lot of interactions. The trend that was driving that is still very much the case. It's still very much going, which is the move towards conversational interfaces themselves. That is, most of millennials prefer chat, right? And the reality is that chat is driving customer service the same level of CSAT that typically voice would. And so this move towards chat is driving the creation of conversational interfaces. Now, for us, an internal trend that we're seeing very much and in a way leading is this change of translation to language operations. So in the old world, you'd think of translation as a one-off thing, a project that you do to have a specific type of content, but actually that's not how companies operate anymore. There's a continuous need to communicate in a bunch of different languages. And so we need, and this is becoming possible because of the evolution of AI. And so we need to be able to integrate that into a platform that enables companies to really think of language in a different way as an enabler of business processes. And so at Unbabel, we have a world-class team of AI researchers beyond product and marketing and all the typical things that startups do. A very significant amount of resources at Unbabel is devoted to pushing the envelope of what's possible in different fields in AI. And so some of the most recent advances that came out of our research team, one of them, for example, is Comet. So Comet is a new, better way of measuring the quality of a machine translation model. If you are in machine translation, the standard until now has been really BLEU, but there's a lot of issues with BLEU, and specifically once you start trying to use BLEU to evaluate neural machine translation, it's typically not very good at doing this. And so we felt that there was the need to really come up with a better solution for this problem, or a better metric. And what Comet does is a neural network that uses both the source, the translation, and a reference, typically done by human. And in using these 3 points, actually starts issuing predictions of what would be the human judgment on the output of MT. And what we're seeing is that it's really the movement from embeddings of those, like I mentioned, source, translation, and reference, along with a very large pre-trained language model that then enables this new way of measuring machine translation. And this builds on things that I was mentioning, like the size of the language models that we're now able to do. Now, what we've been seeing is Comet outperforms significantly well BLEU for sure, but even pretty much all of the other measures that have been proposed recently. And as part of that, we've open sourced it because we think it's important to really drive a common understanding and measurement of by the community of machine translation models. And this is really important because having accurate and reliable metrics for performance of machine translation models means that we can develop faster. Another very interesting part of research at Unbabel is the Maya project. So the Maya project at Unbabel is done in conjunction with Carnegie Mellon. And what it tries to do is it tries to create a toolbox for the customer service agent to be able to augment their capabilities. And so it combines context-aware machine translation with answer generation on the agent interface, and then being able to do intent classification and sentiment analysis on the outcome of the conversation. Now, why I mention customer service is because within building the world translation layer and enabling companies to really scale their language operations across business use cases, we started with customer service. And so the ability to deploy more sophisticated AI to different components of the agent experience is key to really driving and augmenting the capabilities of agents across multiple languages. And so there's a few innovations that happen at the agent level with Maya. One is, for example, that the agent is sounding like a native agent, in this case, Japanese. It provides a set of conversation quality analysis. How likely is this conversation to succeed, but also provides sentiment analysis. And based on that, then is able to sometimes, and obviously an evolving number of times, doing automatic answer generation, and then based on that, doing auto-completion. There's a kind of a schema of the Maya system, but I'm not going to go into details here since we don't have that much time. What I will do is maybe mention a couple of the pilots and prototypes that we're developing based on this. So one is with EasyJet, and the other is with Lisbon City Hall. And the goal here is really to test out how deploying this technology in agents in a real use case scenario will drive the efficiency and capabilities of the agents in a cross-lingual scenario. Well, happy to take questions. I think, I don't know if we have time for questions here, but very happy to be here, and I hope you found this useful. Thank you.